Okay, we are going to analyze a situation and step by step, which we always hope is step by step, but it always ends up not being step by step because things get we get distracted, or there's other things that happen and life gets in the way. Life, sure. Jeff Goldblum said, "Life finds a way." Well, for us, it's life gets in the way. And it never seems to amaze me how you can plan and plan and plan, and then all of a sudden, boom, things are wonky. So what we're going to do here is we're going to show how this works, and we are just going to just show how it works. So I'm going to actually use my virtual. I could use the physical dice, but I'm going to use the virtual dice because that's, after all, part of the beauty of doing this. So what we will do here is roll for initiative. That's how we're going to do this. What we're looking at here, let me just adjust this camera a little bit. Okay. What we're looking at here is two units facing off against each other, a North African Carthaginian unit and a Roman unit. And there's no other parameters involved here. There's no cards or anything. We're just going to show how this combat happens because, first of all, it's a good refresher for us, and so on. And it illuminates the parameters of the differences in the makeup, the composition of these units. For instance, the Romans could be spearmen and pilum. The Africans may only just be spearmen. Okay, so there's a difference there, and that is a, I don't know, advantage or disadvantage. We're about to find out. What we're going to do is we're going to roll for initiative and see who gets to go first. So we'll roll for the Romans first, and it's simply a 1d10. Highest roller wins. Usually it's on the commander's value, but we're just going to roll 1d10. So the Romans rolled a 5, and the Carthaginians rolled a 7. And so the Carthaginians will go first. And now what we're going to do is we're going to roll to see how far the unit moves. Now, why are we doing that? The units just move, right? Well, first of all, as we know, it's light infantry. So they're going to move 4 spaces. But because there is this unknown factor that we've instituted, we've been doing this off and on. In other words, sometimes we do it, sometimes we don't do it. But it brings in a nuance that is a variety factor that you can't predict, you can't depend on. So, or you just can't predict. So we're going to roll to see if the unit moves normal speed, less than normal, or +1 to its normal speed. And that's just simply a die roll again, just a random event based on the die roll to see if it moves better, worse, or whatever. So, and that's using our CNC dice, with the CNC being the least likely probability. In other words, the star, and the code being the second least likely, and the color being the most likely, respectively 33%, 17, and I think 10 or some 6% or something like that, however the percentages are for an average die. So we're going to roll to see if they move normal, less than normal, or +1 to normal. So normal is going to be the blue or color. Less than normal is going to be code or red, and +1 is going to be the star. And they rolled +1. Therefore, these guys are going to move 5. Now, they've got the initiative. They got the jump on the other guy. The other guy's sitting right there, looking right at him. He does have a pre-melee ability, a pre-contact ability. Now, the total movement is going to be 4 plus 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He is going to get into the melee sphere immediately within a single move. But before he makes contact, those pilum are going to be flung at these light infantry. And it will hopefully cause a measure of damage. And we shall see. Now, there are, again, an option of 2 ways of doing this pre-melee. The combat could be, or the effect of the pilum could be normal, 1 less, or 1 greater. Again, just like the movement. We simply don't know. We don't want to have them miss the hit. In other words, they're going to hit the target. But how effective is it? We don't know. We do know, however, that this is light infantry, and that has an effect of +1 for being hit. So that will be an additional incremental hit when they get hit. Okay, so let's go ahead and move them right into contact. So the pre-melee is going to be along the same lines. It's going to be less effective. It's going to be better than effective or normal effective. So normal effective is going to be blue, and less than effective is going to be code or red, and better than effective is going to be a C and C. So star. We will roll, and it's the result is 1 less than effective. So normally it would be an incremental hit. Normally you'd put down, in this case, instead of using the roster, we're going to show it on the table. It would cause a incremental hit to the unit if that was a normal damage. But in this case, it's 1 less than that, which there is no half incremental hit. It means they actually do, in fact, miss. They don't get the hit. So, unfortunately, it's just the way it goes. The effect of the pilum was nothing. It wasn't significant to be noticed. The troops laughed it off. They didn't get enough casualties. There was a defect in the iron of the pilum. Who knows? So now the combat occurs just like normal. But I should say melee happens, and there's no other parameters to be affected. That's why I said normal. But there is the parameters of the units themselves. It's light infantry value of 2. Medium infantry, because they're not heavy, value of 3. So the Romans have a advantage of +1. Is there any other modifier? Not that I can see, even though 1 troop is moving and 1 troop isn't. There doesn't appear to be, there's no commanders. So it's basically straight up, the Romans are superior by 1, and the Carthaginians, the North Africans, do they have any other modifier? Well, the truth of the matter is there should be, but if we didn't have any modifiers, then it would be just a +1 better for the Romans. However, historically speaking, these troops were good fighters. They should be giving an advantage. Let's assume for the moment that they are equal. They are not elite or better veterans or anything of that nature. There's no other modifier. So it's 3 versus 2. And so we'll simply roll the CNC die, looking to see what you're rolling and then augmenting that. So let's just roll for the Romans first. It is a red, and for the Carthaginians, it is a blue. So the Romans roll red, which causes a incremental hit. They are +1 greater, so they actually cause an additional hit. The Carthaginians, so they simply cause an incremental hit. And that's it. And you continue like that. Now, however, is there any movement? Is there any thing to be said about where the troops are after the fighting? We don't know. But there has been discussion lately that perhaps we should implement a pushback due to either volume of the enemy, type of enemy, contact of enemy, so on and so forth. If there was a red hit, for instance, there was discussion that perhaps the person suffering the greater damage should be pushed back one. Now, this could cause a big problem if there was a line of troops, and all of a sudden, if this guy suffered a red hit and none of his compatriots did, he would be pushed back. That is a concept. We don't know. It wouldn't be a legislated rule, it would be a random event. So, in other words, to say, if you suffer a red hit, roll to see if you are pushed back, and the other opponent contacting you follows you and maintains contact with you, because your intention is to push them back out of line, break the line, cause a disruption in the line. And that's where we're at with that situation. So if we were to have another roll, we would do it. So let's begin. Is there any other modifier? No. With this next round of melee, there's no significant damage. The incremental hits don't count yet. Only the red hits count. And so we are again back to a 3 versus 2 situation. They both roll red. So because they both roll red, they both cause an incremental hit. Now, as you can see, the Carthaginians have suffered 3 incremental hits. That is going to be a red converted to a red hit. So the 3 hits go away and they become a red hit. And this is at what we were talking about earlier, is the possibility of those Carthaginians being pushed back, still in contact with the Romans, but pushed back 1 hex. We don't know. So what we'll do is we'll test that idea. We'll see what happens. So we're going to simply roll red to see if they get pushed back. And they do. So we'll push them back 1 hex, like that. Now, does that cause any further problem? Does that cause any further disruption? Well, we don't think so. It might cause a disruption, but right now the damage is enough. So let's go ahead, and if we want to continue, we'd have another melee. There would be obviously other parameters, cards being played, and so on and so forth. Or other things around the game table would occur, but the fact of the matter is there's a melee still happening. Nobody's run away yet. There's no reason to. They're just simply taking damage. So here we are again. The Romans are 3, but because of the red hit, those Carthaginians now drop to a value of 1. So that gives them an even worse outcome of potential damage. So let's roll for the Romans, rolling star, or red, I should say, because that's all we're looking for here is red or blue. And the Carthaginians are rolling the same. So they both rolled red. They both rolled red. They both cause an incremental hit. Okay, that's a given. They are a value of 1. These guys are a value of 3. That's 2 greater. Therefore, they cause not only an incremental hit because of the die roll, but also 2 additional hits. And that's the way that works, because they are outnumbering, I should say, they are in better value than the Carthaginians. That translates to a second red hit. So the Romans are definitely winning this melee, and it doesn't look good. And now we'll roll again to see if they get pushed back, and they don't. So that is unfortunately the situation. The Romans maintain their superiority. So it's interesting. On a 1-to-1 situation, the Carthaginians are losing.